Today in the Gospel of Matthew, why didn't Jesus want his apostles going among the Gentiles? Who were the lost sheep of Israel, and how did they become lost? Why weren't the apostles to be paid? And what was going on with the whole shaking the dust off the feet thing? Let's dive in and find out. So we will begin. We are on Matthew 10, verse 5. Last time, what we covered, always good to make sure and connect things. Last time, Jesus had chosen, he called his 12 disciples and sent them out as apostles. And that means that they had special authority as apostles. But we really focused on that authority. And it's not just the authority that the apostles had, it is the authority that accompanies the Word of God. The apostles had a special level of that authority because he was sending them out to speak directly for him. Doesn't mean everything they said came from him, but they did have a level of authority in writing the inspired scriptures, etc., that we do not. But there is authority that accompanies the Word of God, no matter who it is who is sharing it, because that's the mission for all of us, is to share that word, to proclaim that word, to preach that word. Even if we're not doing it full time in what is referred to as the public ministry. Public simply means on behalf of others, okay? But right away, Matthew has told us about Jesus sending the 12, appointing the 12 as apostles. And then we'll just read the first verse again. And he called to him his 12 disciples and gave them authority over unclean spirits to cast them out and to heal every disease and every affliction. And it gives us their names. Basically, he gave them the authority to do everything that he was doing. He was saying, go out and be me. Go out and represent me. Go out and serve me. Okay? Now he's giving even more clear and concise explanation, because here he literally is sending them out. This is like perhaps an internship. He sent them out. Go do this stuff. And they went away for a while and did this stuff. And then they come back. Talks about that a good bit in Luke, when they came back and how excited they were because of the success that they had had doing just what Jesus had told them to do. So these 12 Jesus sent out, instructing them, go nowhere among the Gentiles and enter no town of the Samaritans, but go rather to the lost sheep of Israel, and proclaim as you go, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse lepers, cast out demons. You received without paying, give without pay. We're going to stop there and we'll talk about these things specifically. I'm going to adjust my microphone just a little bit. Why does he say? It's kind of odd. You know, salvation's for all. And the first thing Jesus says is, go nowhere among the Gentiles and enter no town of the Samaritans. Now, Jesus had already, by this point, spent some time sharing the gospel with Gentiles, had spent some time sharing the gospel with Samaritans. In John 4, which was very early in his ministry, he went and spent a few days in Samaria after meeting that Samaritan woman at the well. But Jesus tells the disciples, don't go out. It is not your mission to go to the Gentiles. And again, Gentiles simply means believer or non-believers, people who weren't Jews, the nations, the others. That's who the Gentiles were. Okay. The Samaritans were the kind of, for lack of a better term, they were half Jews. Okay. They were what was left after the northern kingdom, Israel, was hauled away by Assyria. That happened in 722 BC. Okay. And it never really came back. They didn't come back the way the nation of Judah did from Babylon. And they only believed in the first 5 books of the Bible. They had a bunch of things that they were off about. They were different, okay? But Jesus says, only go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. God's first mission was always from the time, and we're going to hit this timeline again. I'll go over it until it just running out your ears. From the time that God called Abram, when he assigned, we're back to Deuteronomy 32, when he assigned the nations to the B'nai Elohim, the sons of God, and he started anew with Abram, started his own new nation through whom he would work salvation. The problem at this point in time is, and it had started sometime back, there's a reason Israel got hauled away by Assyria in 722 BC. There is a reason that Nebuchadnezzar, favorite name in the Bible, Nebuchadnezzar hauled off Judah, Jerusalem, into captivity in 586. That's when Daniel went, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, Jeremiah, many others. There is a reason those things happened. His children had gone completely wayward, and the northern kingdom was just absolutely a hot mess from the get-go. From the time Israel was divided into Judah in the south and the 2 tribes in the south, Judah and Benjamin, 10 tribes in the north. The 10 tribes in the north didn't have one single good king. They were just a disaster. And that's from the time of Rehoboam, Jeroboam, right after Solomon. Total disaster. And they only made it until 722 BC, and they were hauled off and never came back. Okay. Judah was a mess. If you go read through the prophets, the major prophets, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, the stuff that was going on, they were just a disaster. They were a hot mess. And so God's first mission, and overall, things had gotten better since they came back from exile in 400, roughly, early, what would it be? 516, somewhere in there, BC. Things had gotten a good bit better. They were more faithful. That discipline is what that was. That discipline had effect, but still, as far as what they believed, what they knew, what they were about, they weren't off worshiping the Baals and the Asherahs and all that stuff anymore, but they were messed up. The Sadducees, the Pharisees, the scribes, they were spiritually still in a bad way. And so he says, first and foremost, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And we're going to look at some of these verses in the Old Testament where he talks about them being lost sheep. So again, what your ears hear, as I touch my headphones, what your ears hear when you hear the lost sheep of the house of Israel, you think the 23rd Psalm, you think Jesus is the good shepherd, and all those things are true. All those things are valid. But what they heard was stuff straight from the prophets. They heard God calling them the lost sheep of Israel. There was that connection. So Psalm 119, 176, I have gone astray like a lost sheep. Seek your servant, for I do not forget your commandments. There's an individual praying for God to come as the shepherd and save him. Isaiah 53, verse 6, that section in Isaiah that is the gospel in the Old Testament. All we like sheep have what? Gone astray. We have turned everyone to his own way. And the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all, talking about the shepherd, the Messiah, the Savior. Jeremiah 50, verse 6. And this is where he is chastising the shepherds. There is responsibility in teaching. There is responsibility in leading. You assume responsibility. You better make sure you know what you're saying, because in effect, you're speaking for God. You're saying, this is what the Lord says. Well, you want to make sure that you've got that right, okay? My people have been lost sheep. Their shepherds have led them astray, turning them away on the mountains. From mountain to hill they have gone. They have forgotten their fold, okay? And there's kind of a double entendre there with the mountain and hills. That's where the Baals were worshipped. That's where the Asherahs were, on the high places, okay? There's a couple different digs in there. Ezekiel 34:2, Son of man, prophesy against the shepherds of Israel. Prophesy and say to them, even to the shepherds, thus says the Lord God. Ah, shepherds of Israel, who have been feeding yourselves. Should not shepherds feed the sheep? In other words, you're taking care of yourself. You're not taking care of the sheep. And he's sending them out. Back to what's going on here. Jesus sending out the 12. Later, he's going to send out the 70. Don't miss that number. Numbers almost always matter. He's sending them out to do his work. Go be me. Go be me to them. Okay, that's what you are. That's why you're called a Christian. You're supposed to be a little Jesus. Christ, Paul tells us, is being formed in us, okay, so that we can represent him. Well, for these disciples, they had seen Jesus with this compassion of the shepherd for the sheep. Matthew 9:36, just right back where we were a couple weeks ago. When he saw the crowds, he had compassion for them because they were harassed and helpless, like what? Like sheep without a shepherd. And Matthew 18:22, so 8 chapters from now, what do you think? If a man has 100 sheep and one of them has gone astray, does he not leave the 99 on the mountains and go in search of the one that went astray? Jesus came to seek and save the lost. The apostles were to go and seek, first and foremost, seek and save the lost sheep of Israel. Save as many of them as you can in the time that is allotted. Because once the day of Pentecost comes, we're still going to work on saving the Jews, because the Jews, if you think of the map of the Mediterranean and all the different population centers, you see little dots if you were to put all the synagogues down, where the Jews had been spread out when they'd been invaded by different nations. They had been spread out in the dispersion, the diaspora. And where did Paul always go first? And Paul is the one who we follow around in the book of Acts. Where did Paul always go first? He hit Burger King, and then he'd stop in at CVS for some supplies, and then maybe Walmart, and then he'd go to the synagogue. Paul hit town. Paul went to the synagogue. Why did he go to the synagogue? Because he was looking for the lost sheep of Israel, first of all. It also served, there you had people who were ready to hear. They knew there was a Messiah. They knew he was supposed to come. Well, you got to go tell them, hey, he came. Okay. So this theme of looking for the lost sheep of Israel, and at this point in time, the clock hasn't ticked up to the hour, day of Pentecost, 50 days after Jesus' resurrection, when boom, they're supposed to go to all the world. That hasn't happened yet. We're still focusing on the children of Israel. The woman comes and asks Jesus, who wasn't a Jew, came and asked Jesus to heal her child. And what did Jesus say? I was sent to the lost sheep of Israel. And she said, yes, Lord, but even the little dogs eat the crumbs that fall from the master's table. And he commended her for her faith. He would still share the gospel with them. He would still preach to them. He would heal them. But the main mission was still the house of Israel. And proclaim as you go. Proclaiming as you go is a more literal translation. This is what you do. You go and you proclaim. And that word proclaim is keriso. It is what a herald does. Announce, make it known. You're supposed to spread the word. And it's this amazing message. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. Everybody's been waiting for it. Everybody's anxious for it. It's here. It's here. And that the term that is used at hand, it isn't as much describing temporal location, like it's now right here. It's really close. It's right there on the edge. No, it's time. That the time has been fulfilled. It's time. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. What's the kingdom of heaven? I can give you the good old textbook catechism definition that the kingdom of heaven is God ruling in our hearts through his word. And that's a good definition, but it's limited. It's limited. What is the kingdom of heaven? Where do you think I'm going to go? I'm going to go to the Garden of Eden. What did we have there? We had heaven meeting earth. God with his people. He walked with them in the garden in the cool of the day. They were together. What is it that we look forward to? We are on an Edenic trajectory. That's what we're looking ahead to, that he is with us. God will be with us, and we will be his people, and he will wipe every tear from our eyes. That amazing relationship that is to exist. What did they have here? Especially here, they had Jesus. Jesus was right there. God with his people. And God is, and this is important, God is still with his people. Jesus said, lo, I am with you always. Was he lying? When Jesus said, lo, I am with you always, he wasn't just throwing that out there to make us feel better. No, he is with us. He is with us in his word. What does the Gospel of John begin? In the beginning was the Word was God, and the Word was with God, and the Word became flesh. Well, now we have the Word. First of all, we just said he's being formed in us. He is with us that way, literally. He is with us in his word. You are blessed. I can say this. There are ways in which you are blessed more than anyone in Jesus' day. Jesus says, you're more blessed. He told his disciples, you're more blessed than John the Baptist. Why? Because you get to see this stuff fulfilled. You have it all. You have it all. It's right here. You want to look something up? It's there. And it's not just a dead book. It's not like grabbing a resource off a legal library in a lawyer's office. You know, they always have all those books and books and books. It's the living and active word of God. It's that amazing thing. And we have it. You want Jesus to speak to you? Open it up. Turn on YouVersion and listen to it. It's right here. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. The time has come. Now, at that moment, there was still a little bit more to come, right? Crucifixion, resurrection, ascension, day of Pentecost. That stuff was still to come. But it was right there. It's right here. It's right at hand. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. So get fired up. Don't just say, oh, that's nice. That's interesting. It's nice to have the kingdom of heaven at hand. No, get excited. Go share it. Heal the sick. He gave his apostles the ability to heal the sick, to raise the dead, to cleanse lepers. And they always do this. I know the modern versions, many of the scholars are not prone to look favorably on the miraculous. They like to whittle it down and take it away. They always put this little note here. Do you see it? Leprosy was a term for several skin diseases, like acne or something like that. Yeah, that's true. There were a lot of different forms of leprosy. He was talking about the really bad leprosy where they made people go stay off in a colony by themselves and they rotted away. Don't let anybody dwindle down and whittle away at the miraculous. Heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse lepers, cast out demons. Are we able to do those things? Yes. If God wants us to be able to do those things, we will be able to do those things. There is an interesting thing in the New Testament as time goes on, and if you were to put it on a graph, as the word is written, and more they have the word, the gospel's written down, other things, the church is getting established, the miraculous seems to diminish. Why? Because Jesus didn't come to be a miracle worker show, and he didn't want his disciples to be a miracle worker show. That's not what he was about. Those things affirmed the veracity of the gospel. They showed the power of the message. But the greatest thing that the gospel does, I can be healed from some disease. Okay? I can be healed from some disease. The greatest thing that's ever happened to me is saving faith in Jesus Christ. Far better than beating cancer or whatever else. Okay? That's eternal. That really matters. So the miraculous is amazing. It's miraculous. But it's not all. It's not the focus. It's not what it is about. It accompanies those other things. But we have the ability to do that. The apostles do it, right? You received without paying, give without pay. Interesting. Never made this connection before. The deceivers on, the healing ministry people, were all, that's what everything is all about. It's always connected with money and wealth. And those people are rolling in dough very often. Here is saying, this isn't about money. Don't ever make the gospel about money. We should never hear that some preacher has assets of $242 million. It doesn't make any sense. It's not why you're supposed to do it. You received without paying. Give without pay. Did Jesus live in luxury? No. Foxes have holes, birds of the air have nests, the Son of Man has no place to lay his head. He eschewed those things. It's not what he was about. Acquire no gold or silver or copper for your belts. You don't need to put together a financial plan to go and serve the Lord. No bag for your journey, or 2 tunics or sandals or a staff, for the laborer deserves his food. I will take care of you. I will take care of you. That's the message for all of us, that God takes care of us. It's definitely the message for us that God provides for those, especially who are actively out ministering. Okay? It's not supposed to be about money. Don't focus on that. Okay? It's not the financial stuff. And whatever town or village you enter, find out who is worthy in it and stay there until you depart. What is worthy? As you enter the house, greet it. And if the house is worthy, let your peace come upon it. But if it is not worthy, let your peace return to you. And if anyone will not receive you or listen to your words, shake off the dust from your feet when you leave that house or town. So what is this worthy thing? What is this worthy thing? It is simply a picture of those who receive the message. If the house is worthy, let your peace come upon it. I'm proclaiming the word. If you welcome me in, both as regards the message, but also providing me a place to sleep, breakfast before I go on my way, you're going to benefit from the message that I share. Let your peace come upon it. What does the gospel bring? Doesn't bring prosperity. Nowhere does it say that. Peace. My peace I give to you. Not peace as the world knows peace. The peace that surpasses all understanding. Let your peace come upon it. But if it is not worthy, let your peace return to you. If they don't want it, hey, it's still mine. And I'll take it and I'll share it with those people down the way. And if anyone will not receive you or listen to your words, shake off the dust from your feet when you leave that house or town. That was a public sign of disapproval. They rejected us. They don't want to have anything to do with us. Fine. Shake off the dust from their town and go on their way. People need to know that when they reject the gospel, when they say, yeah, I'm really not interested in that, there are consequences. There's eternal consequences. That's what this display was about. It was about saving souls. And I know someone who practiced this. A pastor I know, he'd gone to see these people. They'd come and visited the church, and they very nicely said, basically, they just went to church to kind of check it out. They weren't really interested in the faith or the Bible or those kind of things. And, but they thanked him for coming by. And he looked at them very nicely and said, okay, well, I guess you can go to hell then, and left. And they called him back. They called him and asked him to come talk with them because he was just so blunt and direct. Okay, you don't want to have anything to do with this stuff. I guess you can go to hell then. That's what shaking the dust off your feet. If you did that today, nobody would know what you're doing. What that individual did was this. He was letting them know, you reject this. You reject this. You have no part in it. You have none of the blessings that we spoke of. Truly, I say to you, it will be more bearable on that day, on the day of judgment, for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah than for that town. What's the point there? Sodom and Gomorrah didn't have direct emissaries of the Christ, the Messiah, sent to them to proclaim the word of salvation. They didn't get that favor, that treatment. So if you're going to kind of weigh things, rejecting this is a bigger offense than the abominations that went on in Sodom and Gomorrah. Again, unbelief has consequences. And we always want to kind of water that down. We want to take the rough edges off of it. And when you take the rough edges off of the law, the message that sin deserves death, and that's what it gets. When you take the rough edges off of that message, then you undo the healing balm of the gospel of free and full forgiveness. So always need to have both. And we are in our society so fixated on not offending anyone. I'm not saying we should try to be offensive. Don't get me wrong. But we're so fixated on not offending anyone that, and what happens if you try to talk, if you try to communicate and not offend anyone? What do you say? Nothing. Nothing of value. Nothing of value, right? So we need to just focus on the truth, proclaiming the message that we are sent, called, and blessed to be able to share and not water it down, because Jesus certainly didn't. Okay, got more to talk about because Jesus in this commissioning, it's interesting. He talks about this to them, and then this prophetic thing happens. I call it a prophetic thing because I've taught before that prophets, as they looked off into the future, it was like heads-up displays, things portrayed on glass. And they could see different things in different times. They couldn't differentiate the timeline of events, okay? When Jesus, a few different places in the Gospel of Mark, the Gospel of Matthew at the end, when he is talking about the end times, he's talking about the destruction of Jerusalem. He was talking about what was happening right then, what was going to happen in 70 AD with the destruction of Jerusalem, and what happens at the end of the age all together, like it's in a soup, all together. And we're going to have some of that happen in what comes up next as he is talking about going out and ministering and proclaiming. It's very interesting. So we're going to end there. Want to thank you very much and happy to have you with us, and tune back in again next week. That concludes our broadcast for today. We publish our videos on YouTube, BitChute, and Brighteon. We hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give us a like or a thumbs up. We invite you to subscribe so you can continue to receive our content. Also, please consider sharing this video with others. We love to hear from you, so please leave a comment below. This is Matthias 76, and together we will continue to decode the deception.